So I was talking about monastery and how these groups of uh, people, business people, traders, they would bring in the supplies from one stupa to another. And I was talking about monastery, which was the center of Buddhism at that point of time. This is 2,500 plus years, 2,000 plus years. These monasteries subsequently became also prototypes for the Islamic madrasas and
Mm-hmm.
also for the Christian universities, on the Buddhist monasteries which dotted Central Asia. And of course, the madrasas, Islam came after Christianity. So it's
Yes.
many of the Islamic structure. It is said that even the stupa gave the concept of the gumbad, the round top of so many masjids, of so many forts, even. So these monasteries, and another important exchange that was happening when Navendra Ghosh made Trishagni, and it was screened in many of these countries outside India. One of the questions that came up is, you're talking about Buddhism, but why are the men and women? It was primarily men who were in these groups of traders carrying
Yes.
stuff. So why are the men dressed like they are in the Islamic countries? Islam wasn't there then. So it had to be pointed out that philosophies, and religion being a part of that, and ideas traveled, but geography, geography molds what we wear. Because of the weather, when there were no air conditioning around, some parts of the world, like in African subcontinent, people did not wear garments, and some part of the world, like in the deserts, they wore long gowns to cover their body
Yes.
from the flying sand. The sand
Yes.
was hot and it should not touch the body. So they started covering their heads, their faces, their bodies from top to toe. And that
Yes.
is a geographical reason for why people in certain parts of the world dress in certain ways. And this had to be pointed out. And then, with the journey of the religions, these dress codes also journeyed. So,
Yeah, of
silk,
course.
the way it was worn in China, was not the way the Romans wore, but the Romans sought silk because of its inherent qualities. And if white cotton was sought in the deserts, it was once again one of the the stuff traded. Uh, so was certain other things. Indigo was sought in the Mediterranean countries for a different reason. And but these exchanges happened as much, these exchanges, which are history, happened largely because of geography.
True.
Geography. Why geography? Because if we look at, and this is something I started realizing, that was the point I started realizing when I was in Kazakhstan, and there were all these academics who had come, some from Tajikistan, some from Azerbaijan, some from Turkey, and all the exchanges that followed. And I started realizing that from China down to the northern tip of Africa, or uh, the Mediterranean uh, countries, when these people traveled, two or three things were happening. One was they were traveling through landlocked pockets, which did not have access to sea, and they were mostly desert areas, so they did not have greens. They had only animals, and much of the population had to live uh, from what was going on the Silk Road. So what happened? Two things happened, very interestingly. One was that many of them became bandits. They used to rob these caravans. And many of them did the opposite. They offered themselves as guards to protect these caravans and the goods from the bandits. So because of the same problems, two different approaches, two different lifestyles emerged. And those who became guards, they would travel with these caravans and they became warriors. They were warriors because they were living in very tough terrain. And they became warriors also because they were trying to fight off the bandits and protect. So all these people became very deft, skilled warriors. And they were also aggressive. So, there were wars between the tribes, and that came to define many of the later, the countries that we see of their own geographical areas into other areas and tried to find stability and prosperity for their own people. So once again, it was geography, of both coming together, lifestyles and civilization was changing. So, so many things, it's so deeply connected. And of course, we are to find versions of this later when people set out from Europe and landed up in America, and another civilization change happened there. Then people traveled or were forced to travel from the Queen's countries to Australia. Another change happened there, and so on and so forth. But has been a definitive study and has influenced both arts, not both. It has influenced arts, it has influenced religion, ideas, it has influenced food habit, it has influenced the food habit. Why is it that in Afghanistan they had roti? Why is it that in Bengal we mostly had rice and fish? These are some of the things, once again, happening because of history, geography. A story that Tagore wrote and which touches the heart of humanity anywhere in the world is Kabuliwala. Kabuliwala is about a man from Kabul who comes with dry fruits, sells dry fruits, and he makes money by even, he acts as a money lender. And of course, there are fights and they are aggressive. They have a tough life and he's aggressive and he kills a man in the process and he's jailed. But before he goes to jail, he has befriended a little child, a girl, who reminds us of him of his own daughter back home. And by the time he comes out of jail, this girl is grown up. She has very faint memories of the man, but he realizes he's losing the memory of his own daughter. And thus starts another journey. This story has been sort of imagined in the context where after Bamiyan Buddhas were brought down, raised, uh, a man comes to this part of the world. Again, another change of ideas, exchange of ideas, you could say, because this part of the world believes in reincarnation and he is looking for a reincarnation of his child who has died in the destruction. And the same story has traveled to another part of the world in Kazakhstan, where another man who has traveled to a different country for trade and strikes up a relationship with a child. So these are what is connecting human situations where a man has traveled and struck new relationship with a child, the most basic form of humanity, the most innocent form of humanity. Uh, this is the importance, once again, to round up what I have been saying, the importance of your effort, of migrant music, of looking back at the Silk Route, that human beings everywhere in the world have been migrating. We have migrated. We, in the sense, not me too, I'll come to that later, but my forefathers, my grandfather,
Yes,
uh,
true.
he traveled from one part of Bengal to a different, totally different, which have become two countries now. I have traveled from Bombay to Calcutta. I was born in Bombay because my father traveled from Calcutta to Bombay. I traveled from Bombay to Calcutta. My brother traveled from Bombay to England, and so on and so forth. So even within my family, there are so many
Correct.
migrations happening, and this has increased with technology. Now we are crossing boundaries even at this very moment as we speak, but within families too. Now a child goes out to study in one country, goes out to work in another, makes his family and lives in another, and then he travels to so many different outposts of civilization, just as people on the Silk Road did for their trade.
Exactly. Just to put something in your line, what you were saying just now about Kabuliwala and its impact. Thing is, there is one fine filmmaker from Tajikistan, one of my friends. She's Sharafat Bopa. So actually, she had to be there in this session also, but she has been somehow is not feeling well, so she fell unwell. So that's why we could not have her. But the thing is,
Okay, sorry to hear that.
she made one beautiful film herself, taking this cue from Kabuliwala, and
Hmm.
she was just showing one Indian guy selling things in Tajikistan and trying to make some relationship with one small little girl over there. And fortunately, I was associated with that project, and I did music for that. And she wanted that if I can use some Tigor music into that film, so just to be in the lines, so that way. Yes, we did use one Tigor music. That is, and the thing is, we somehow used the instrument santur, and what I could see on screen, when I was doing the music, when I was selecting things, I didn't know how it would come up finally. And when it was on screen, I could see the protagonist was just going through the hill areas of Tajikistan and all, and this music and this tune of Santur and this Raga Vairavi, that did simply wonder actually. So that is a part of
Absolutely.
music. That is a part of music actually. And Tagore himself said that Raga Vairavi, particularly in terms of Vairavi, that our music has some close relationship with the Persians, about the Persian music. So, I mean, if just we follow that trail, we'll be seeing
You
this
mentioned
chromatic
Santur.
notes and this particular.
Santur, I was in China for the
Yeah.
Festival of India. It was
Okay.
a government to government initiative, and I was part of the team that went there. Uh, and we visited some of the schools, music schools, where we found uh, these instruments, and I was taken up. And I'm talking about more than 25 years. It's close to what, 20, during Prime Minister Narasimha Rao was then the Prime Minister during his time. I had gone with uh, our Human Resources Minister. Uh, and I was taken up, I mean, I was amazed how much these instruments have in common, you know. There are different
Yeah.
versions. And the santur music that stays on in Chinese is a little bit more staccato. And here in India, and particularly with Shiv Kumar ji, I have learned, I've heard from him and learned that, you know, our versions have used added strings. And Shatatantri, Shatatantra, 100 strings, has been
Yes.
described in Sanskrit texts.
Yeah.
Why were these added? So that, you know, it's, the resonance
Yeah. That is.
lingers. Our music has a lot more longer tans and ala, which
Yes.
have been facilitated by these santur. As you mentioned, I mean, I just remembered how it is very much a part of the spirit of the Himalayas exchange. I mean, this side, that side,
Yes.
across the borders, and we
Yeah.
cross borders through the music. And
Exactly.
another thing uh, uh, was, I was remembering, as you mentioned, a person going from here to Tajikistan. I remembered Mrinal Sen's film Neel Akasher Niche, which is about a Chinaman
Yeah.
in Calcutta and his equation with a housewife, and then the Chinese, clashes between the governments happen, and how that impacts the relationship between a trader and a woman who buys his stuff. So these stories, these stories that tell us about human lives, human emotions, highlight one thing: human beings are the same everywhere. They're all, we are born out of geography, and geography molds history, and we are all, because we are creatures molded by our history, we need to periodically look back and find the commonalities to be able to transcend the differences.
Yeah. Yes. So yes, that's it, and that's what we are trying to do. And just let me just tell you that
It is an excellent effort that you have been doing this.
thank
It
you so much.
it much needed, and you have given it a new dimension. I remember the first of the exchanges when it was not, there was no lockdown, and it was not a common thing to have these Zoom conferences, but you had organized the setup, and we had a common
Yeah,
platform we came on.
yeah. Mm.
Amazing journeys these are.
That's long
I think.
ago when it was all introduced. So
Yes.
yes,
Yes, at
that's it.
least.
The thing is, I mean, this is perhaps the power of music, and we influencers are, one thing that to be on the stage. So it is, of course, wonderful to be on stage, to be among people. But apart from performances, apart from shows, we do something else also, as because we are performing migrating music. We of course definitely have some thoughts behind it, and we try to do a little bit just to widen our horizon, and enhance our friend circle that way, with music and all. And finally, what we have in our mind, and of course I'd request you to be with us, we will be starting one particular journey. It can be called reverse and humans, and we'll be primarily we'll be selecting 3 rivers from 3 countries. I mean, of course, rivers are not confined in countries. They are always,
Rivers
they can
and
cross.
birds
Yes,
don't
they
belong to
they
countries,
they
so to
they
say.
uh, simply do not have to bother about this, borders and all. So yes, so basically we'll be selecting 3 rivers and we'll be going along those rivers. Though not me and Farid personally, all the time, we'll be enhancing our, team also, for because we'll be including Volga, and of course we'll be including Saraswati Nadi, Saraswati, and at times Yamuna also will be traveling to Bangladesh, and yes, the river Brahmaputra. So yes, we'll be traveling and we'll be trying to understanding the different ethnic groups and cultures along the river, and we'll be trying to find some kind of similar notes in between the particular ethnic groups and cultures. And we will try to do something, just to documentation, just for documentation, and to make some kind of archive, of all this. This is huge. This is not possible if we personally, I mean, we in TAS personally try to do it, associations and collaborations and all. And of course, we'll be needing help from you, from Goutam da, from your kind of people who always have showed interest in something new and some, this kind of ventures, we can say. So, of course, we'll be needing you. And one good information to share that some global platforms already approached us for migrating music, as because this is perhaps one new thing that is yet nascent in this world. We are trying to do, we are trying to establish this genre, you can say. So we'll be needing your help, of course,
It's a very
academically, and of course,
ambitious effort, and I wish you every success in that.
thank
And
you
you were
so very
talking about when you were talking about music and the common factors about. I was also reminded of how I was talking about the monasteries. The chants in the Buddhist monasteries.
yes,
Of
yes,
course, they
of course,
have given rise to music, just as
yeah.
the Hindu earlier
Vedic chant,
Vedic chants
yeah,
have.
yes,
And you know what? We also overlook sometimes the Hebrew chants mixed
yeah,
with Greek chants.
yes,
Greek choruses used to sing,
exactly so.
and these have, yes, and it's amazing church music, a
Yeah,
cappella, whatever. So many different styles of singing have emerged
yes,
out of these blends, these marriage of chants.
exactly, exactly, exactly.
It's not
Thank
the
you so very much,
sense.
Gautama.
This is just to point out that it is not only instruments which are not dependent on language, but
Of course,
also, and talking of that, because language changes every few kosa in
yes,
Sanskrit. So language itself has been influenced by these journeys
of course,
and both.
of course. And perhaps the basic note, if we just try to find out the basic human notes, that is perhaps this smile or cry, the sound of smile or cry. And smiles can be also different. I mean, according to the personality and all, and culture and education and all. But cry that way is perhaps the basic, very basic note of human beings. So that way we are trying to, you know, uh, somehow formulate the kind of dialect so that we can talk to the people worldwide through music without the barrier of time or race or religion or language, whatever it may be, or all actually made by humans. So we are trying to overcome, just to go beyond all these barriers. And
Rise over
yes,
them all.
yes, in term, in this regard of chant music, you know that we already started doing something on chant music. We already performed, and this time during just to tell you, because you mentioned about the Hebrew chantings. So during this pandemic, we evolved one more form also, involving Gregorian chanting and also Hebrew chanting. And you know what? Today I want to venture, because we are in the mood of some talking and all. But I performed in one of our Facebook lives, I believe, that I performed this Hebrew chanting in parallel with Tagore's Baje Purna Shure. And it goes so well.
Yes,
Yes.
I remember that.
Thank you so very much. So these
Was
two
that
go
in
so well.
Bhopal? Was it in Bhopal that you did that?
Yeah, a little bit we
I
tried
can't
in
remember.
Bhopal also. Yes,
I
yes,
think
yes.
so, yes.
Bhopal also. So this is it. And well, this closing ceremony has already going to be closed. The thing is, what we have mentioned so many important things about your culture and geography and history all together, how it actually evolves. So thank you so very much for being with us in the closing ceremony. And I would like to thank all our audiences, and what we just wish to tell you that this is the beginning of the next journey, Rivers and Humans. Be with us. And this is one promise, that we'll be having more friends and more, collaboration and more associations, I believe. And that is the motto of it. That's it. Thank you so very much.
Thank
And
you. Thank you
good night
for
for now.
taking up this theme. Thank you. And all good wishes.
Thank you so very much.